The border between Israel and Syria isn't just a line on a map, it's a deeply contested boundary that has seen decades of tension and conflict. It's the center of a really big and complicated fight that has changed the Middle East for many years. This conflict has shaped the political landscape and affected countless lives. This fight is all about history, who owns the land, and tricky world politics. The roots of this conflict run deep, intertwined with the histories of both nations and their people. To understand what's happening now, we need to go back in time and see how it all started. The origins of this conflict are complex and multifaceted. The trouble began long before Israel became a country in 1948. The region has been a focal point of contention for centuries, with various empires and peoples laying claim to the land. The area, important for both history and religion, was a place where empires fought. Its strategic and symbolic significance made it a coveted prize for many. Jewish people, trying to escape danger in Europe, started moving to Palestine in the late 1800s. This migration was driven by the hope of finding a safe haven and establishing a homeland. This caused problems with the Arab people who already lived there. The influx of Jewish immigrants led to tensions and clashes over land and resources. These problems got much worse after the United Nations tried to split the land into two countries in 1947, one for Jewish people and one for Arab people. The partition plan was met with resistance and violence. The 1948 Arab-Israeli War ended with Israel winning, but many Palestinian people lost their homes. This displacement created a refugee crisis that persists to this day. This war, and more fights in 1956 and 1967, made Israel and its Arab neighbors, like Syria, distrust and dislike each other a lot. Each conflict deepened the animosity and mistrust. The Golan Heights, a high area that looks over northern Israel, became a big part of this fight. Its strategic importance made it a key battleground. Syria losing the Golan Heights in 1967 really hurt them, and they wanted it back. The loss was a significant blow to Syrian pride and military strategy. This keeps the fighting going. The desire to reclaim lost territory fuels ongoing skirmishes and military confrontations. This fight over the land is still a big problem, affecting lots of people and making it hard to have peace. The human cost of this conflict is immense, with generations growing up amidst violence and uncertainty. The Six-Day War in 1967 was a huge change in the Arab-Israeli fight. This conflict, lasting just 6 days, had a lasting impact on the region and reshaped the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. Israel quickly beat Egypt, Syria, and Jordan, changing who had power in the Middle East. The swift and decisive victory showcased Israel's military prowess and altered the balance of power in the region. This war, which started because everyone was nervous and made mistakes, changed many things, especially for the Golan Heights. The buildup of tensions and miscalculations by all parties involved led to a conflict that would have far-reaching consequences. Before the war, Syria would shoot at Israeli towns from the Golan Heights. The strategic high ground allowed Syrian forces to launch frequent attacks, creating a constant state of fear and insecurity for Israeli civilians. This high-up place gave Syrian soldiers a good spot to attack Israel, making life scary for the people living there. The elevated position provided a significant military advantage, enabling sustained artillery bombardments on Israeli settlements. When Israel took the Golan Heights in the war, it was a big win for their army, and it made their northern towns safer. Capturing this territory not only neutralized the immediate threat, but also provided a buffer zone against future attacks. Even though Israel won quickly in 1967, there were still problems. The victory did not bring lasting peace, and the region remained a hotspot for ongoing conflicts and political disputes. Israel took control of the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and the Golan Heights, forcing more Palestinians to leave their homes and causing more trouble. The occupation of these territories led to significant demographic changes and fueled further unrest. Other countries didn't agree on whether Israel should control these places, especially the Golan Heights. The international community was divided, with many nations calling for Israel to withdraw from the occupied territories. Israel made the Golan Heights better with farms, places for tourists, and new roads. The development of infrastructure and agriculture transformed the region, making it a more prosperous and stable area. But Syria still wanted the Golan Heights back and said they wouldn't make peace without it. The demand for the return of the Golan Heights remained a central issue in Syrian-Israeli relations, complicating peace efforts. The Six-Day War, even though it was short, still causes problems today and makes it hard to know what will happen in the future. The legacy of the conflict continues to influence the political and social dynamics of the region, leaving the future uncertain. We still see the effects of the Six-Day War today, not just in the areas people are fighting over, but also in the ongoing conflict between Israel and Syria. The war, which took place in 1967, reshaped the borders and left a legacy of tension and hostility that continues to influence the region's geopolitics. Even though there hasn't been a large-scale war between them since 1973, the Golan Heights and the sky above it have become a hot spot for a different kind of warfare. This area, with its strategic high ground, is now a focal point for aerial skirmishes and military posturing. This modern fighting is characterized by air attacks, support for proxy groups, and a continuous struggle for regional dominance. The skies over the Golan Heights are frequently filled with the roar of jets and the flash of explosions. Israel is particularly concerned about the growing influence of Iran and Hezbollah in Syria. To counter this, they conduct airstrikes targeting various locations within Syria, aiming to disrupt supply lines and weaken their adversaries. These attacks are usually aimed at convoys carrying weapons, military bases, and individuals linked to Iran or Hezbollah. This is part of Israel's broader strategy to keep its enemies at bay and prevent them from gaining a foothold near its borders. Syria, weakened by its own prolonged civil war and reliant on external support, finds itself unable to directly retaliate against Israel's incursions. The devastation within Syria has left it vulnerable and dependent on allies. Instead, Syria receives substantial assistance from Iran and Hezbollah, who provide both soldiers and weaponry. This support is crucial for Syria to mount any form of resistance and to deter further Israeli attacks. This intricate web of alliances and enmities turns Syria into a battleground for larger geopolitical struggles. The country becomes a chessboard where regional and global powers maneuver for advantage. The conflict isn't confined to military engagements. It extends deeply into the realm of international politics. Diplomatic efforts and political strategies play a significant role in shaping the outcomes on the ground. Russia, a staunch ally of the Syrian government, has a significant military presence in the country. This adds another layer of complexity to the already volatile situation. Russia's involvement means that any action in Syria must consider not only the local dynamics, but also the broader strategic interests of Moscow. This makes the conflict a multifaceted and highly intricate affair. The ongoing situation in Syria underscores the immense challenges in achieving peace in the Middle East. The region remains a tinderbox where any spark could lead to a larger conflagration, making the quest for stability and peace ever more elusive. The Middle East is a complicated place, and things are always changing. Syria's friendship with Iran is really important for the whole area. This friendship affects how armies fight, how money moves, and who works together in politics. If we want to understand what's going on, we need to understand this friendship. The fighting has made many people lose their homes. One group affected is the Druze, a group of people with their own special religion and culture. Nobody knows what will happen to them as they try to survive all the complicated politics and fighting. Even with all the fighting, people from other countries are trying to help. Talking to each other, trying to make peace, and giving help to people in need are all important. But nobody knows what will happen, and finding peace will be very hard. People are still trying to find peace in this place where everyone is fighting. Everyone involved needs to understand each other, talk, and be willing to give a little. It's hard, but people still hope for peace because they want a better life.